Prepare to witness one of history's most electrifying showdowns, a tale of guts, glory, and a giant who never saw it coming. This is the tale of David and Goliath, an epic confrontation for the ages, from the Bible's 1 Samuel 17. Imagine, a giant of a warrior, a scrappy shepherd, a battleground drenched in fear and destiny. It's more than a tussle. It's an epic soaked in peril, divine turns, and visceral bravery. Who were these two? Where'd they come from? And how did a boy with a slingshot bring down a giant? Take your front row seat as we plunge into this edge-of-their-seat saga. First up, we've got David, a name that soon would spark legends. He was the youngest son of Jesse, a peasant farmer from the village of Bethlehem, a backwater place in the territory of Judah in the 11th century BC. Jesse wasn't royalty or a warrior, just a working dad arms deep in 8 boys, and David was the runt of the litter. Barely a teenager, he has spent his days leading sheep to graze in the wild hills, wrestling wolves and strumming tunes on a harp. Nobody saw a hero in him, not yet. But God did. A raw faith burned in David's heart, a fire that no one on this earth could extinguish. He was not just a shepherd, but a kid with a destiny, chosen by the Almighty himself. Then there's Goliath, the walking nightmare. Goliath came from Gath, one of the main cities of the Philistines, Israel's archenemies, filling the coastal plains west of the territory of Judah. His father? The Bible doesn't identify him, just suggests he was one of the Anakim, a race of giants from ancient legend. Goliath stood over 9 feet tall, a hulking mountain of muscle and menace, covered in bronze armor that shone like fire. 300 pounds of gear alone. His spear was a tree trunk, his shield a wall, his voice a roar that rumbled the earth. This wasn't a soldier here. He was a one-man war machine, trained to crush nations. So why didn't Israel put out the welcome mat for Goliath? Easy, he was their doom made flesh. The Philistines had been attacking Israel's territories, eager for dominion, and Goliath was their greatest weapon. For 40 days he strode out onto the valley of Elah, a rocky expanse between their encampments, and offered a challenge. Send your best man to fight me. Winner takes all. The Israelites, King Saul and his army, paralyzed in fear. This wasn't just any big guy. Goliath was mocking their God, hurling insults at the Lord of hosts. To him, he was a death sentence in armor, a bully they couldn't fight. They didn't repudiate him. They were frozen in place by him. But God did not have that plan, and God's plan did not include cowering. Enter David, selected in a manner that baffled everyone. To go back a bit, in advance of this battle, God sent the prophet Samuel to Bethlehem on a mission to find Israel's next king. Saul, the king at the time, had fallen from favor with God, and the Lord said, "Look among Jesse's sons." Samuel looked at each of the older brothers one at a time, tall, strapping warrior types. But God said, "Nope, I don't go by appearance. I look at the heart." Then there was David, just out of the sheep pens, dirt and wool on him. Samuel poured oil on his head, and suddenly the Spirit of God, the living God, rushed on him like wildfire. Why David? Because God saw a fearless soul, a kid who'd believe in him despite it all. Now fast forward to the rules of engagement in the battlefield. He wasn't even supposed to be there. He'd been dispatched by Jesse to bring bread and cheese to his soldier siblings. But then Goliath shouted, and something broke. "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he thinks that he will defy the living God?" he growled. The soldiers laughed. "You? A kid?" Even Saul laughed, offering up his armor, which David rejected. It was too encumbering for a shepherd accustomed to ducking bears. Instead, he picked up his sling, 5 smooth stones from a brook, and marched out, a speck before a giant. This was not simply gut, it was faith ablaze. The valley of Elah became as silent as death. Goliath marched forward, armor rattling, his guffaw rolling like a thundercloud. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" he snarled, looming over David, his shadow engulfing the boy whole. The Israelites held their breath, Saul's army on one hill, the Philistines taunting from the other. David didn't flinch. "You come with sword and spear," he yelled, "but I come in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God you've mocked. Today, he'll hand you over." Goliath galloped, the ground shaking beneath his boots, spear lifted to eviscerate the whippersnapper. This was it, the fight of a lifetime. David ran, sling spinning over his head. Whiz, whiz, wham! One stone shot like a bullet from the brook right to Goliath's forehead. Crack. His skull cracked, his eyes white, and boom! He went down face first in the dirt, a 9-foot pile of incipient failure. The Philistines were aghast. The Israelites cheered. David didn't hesitate. He ran forward, seized Goliath's own enormous sword, and with a warrior's roar beheaded the giant and held his head aloft. Blood splattered, the crowd cheered, and the Philistines scurried away like frightened bunnies. One shot, one kill. A shepherd boy swayed the course of war. The aftermath? Pandemonium and praise. The Israelites pursued the retreating Philistines, slaughtering them, article of victory in God's name. Still a teen, David became a legend overnight, his name sung in the streets and camps. Saul takes him in, jealous but awed, and the road to kingship opens. Goliath's head, a trophy of faith over fear. Why did God choose David for this? To tease apart power isn't size or steel, it's surrender to the one who moves mountains. That sling-wielding kid just showed giants tumble when God's on your side. You know David and Goliath? It's not just a story, it's a thrill-a-minute tale of a lone shepherd standing up to a giant, a story of defiance turned inside out and into victory. From Jesse's hushed fields to Gath's carnage-slicked ranks, these two crashed in a moment that roars, courage trumps chaos. And that's the topsy-turvy tale of David and Goliath. Testimony to the idea that the meanest spark can bring the biggest bad guy down when God's at the front table.